So I don't really think that it is much of a secret at this point, but Vaxee is one of my favorite mouse brands, and I also love a lot of their mouse pads as well. This is my long-awaited NP-01 wireless, and is it everything I wanted and more? Let's get into it. I think one of the things that people are going to care about the most is the weight. The NP-01 does come in at 71 grams, between 70 and 71 on my particular copy. But my individual performance in game, I'm able to negate the feeling of that weight a little bit by changing out to faster skates, mixing it with a pad that makes it feel a little bit faster and easy to maneuver. Overall, the performance in 71 grams, I had absolutely no issues at all. It feels very fluid, and once you adapt to it, it's almost just like a sensitivity change. Unless you're somebody who's somehow prone to injuries going from a 50-gram mouse to a 71-gram mouse. For me, I'm very easily able to adapt to the weight, and I performed very well. The mouse does have a 4K version with the 4K receiver. I had absolutely a beautiful experience. I had no stutters. I had absolutely no issues of any kind in 4K mixed with competitive mode. It just feels really good. It feels snappy. It definitely is one of the better performing 4K experiences compared to a lot of the lesser known brands that we see coming out with 4K implementation from China. A lot of the budget brands, this 4K does feel absolutely flawless. Again, no stutters, no issues whatsoever. You do have the standard things on the bottom of the mouse, being able to change it to 1,000 hertz, change your DPI, 842 for your debounce time. Overall, I think the biggest thing is going to be the shape and how that affects you. The thing I can say about the shape is Vaxee is definitely known as a shape king. They make some of the best shapes on the market. They've given us the Vaxee XE, the Outset, and now the NP-01, and of course NP-01S for smaller-handed users. I really like what they did on the right side of the mouse with that ledge. It really is something that you can feel your finger, your ring finger, just resting so nicely on the right side of the mouse. And I think the thumb curve on the left, I miss the very distinctive curve on the original NP-01, but my hands are quite large. And I think that the curve is going to be safer for a wide array of users compared to the old curve. It's basically just a little bit flatter as you round out to mouse 4 and mouse 5. So I think if you're palm gripping and you're a smaller-handed user, you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable. And the shape is one that's very good for claw, relaxed fingertip, as well as, again, if you want to get a little bit more palm contact. The most important thing for me, again, the shape mixed with that 4K performance, primarily the shape. It's just something that performed so good for me. My tracking felt absolutely phenomenal, some of the best of the best. And again, I wouldn't sleep on a Vaxee mouse simply because of the weight. Getting to the build quality segment, I want to bring up weight again because the mouse does weigh the same as the Outset, and the Outset is just a lot more of a mouse. It's ergo, it's higher. It just, you would expect the weight of the NP-01, I think, to be a little bit lower. But in terms of the balance, which I think is the most important factor, I would say it's pretty well balanced, particularly when you're whipping it around, actual in-game use. I don't feel any weight distribution that feels bad. When you pick it up, it feels like the weight might be a little bit more towards the butt of the mouse, but overall, the weight balance feels great in-game. There's no off-putting sense of issues in that regard. Again, once you get used to the weight, not really a big issue, but just kind of wanted to throw that out there between the comparison. I think Vaxee, for their new mice that have released, some of the issues that have kind of afflicted some of my copies has been side flex on mouse 1 and mouse 2, maybe a bit of grind feeling, which is either the plastic over mouse 1 and mouse 2 creaking a little bit, and or switch grind. This copy has really the best mouse 1 and mouse 2 implementation, the plastic over mouse 1 and mouse 2 feeling really nice. I don't feel any flex in game, and as far as pre-travel, there is a bit of pre-travel that you can feel, and then post-travel is very, very minor. But importantly, in game, being very heavy-handed, I just don't really feel any switch grind or anything like that. But if you are pushing very hard, I would just add that you will feel a bit of that flexing or that creaking with side play of Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 a little bit. Mouse 4 and Mouse 5, actually, some of the best from Vaxee. The pre-travel is almost non-existent, and post-travel, likewise, really almost non-existent. Just a bit more on Mouse 4 all the way towards the bottom, and then Mouse 5 all the way at the top. So if you're somebody who hits those buttons in those areas, you might feel it a little bit, but overall, dead on the button, it feels very, very good. The Vaxee mice, I mean, this thing is just built like a tank. I could probably chuck this at the wall, and I don't think that the shell would budge at all. It just feels so damn sturdy with no flex on the bottom shell, no flex anywhere on the mouse. I mean, this thing is just built like a tank. And you, I'm sure, would expect that with its current weight. The scroll wheel actually feels good. It feels well-defined steps, but easy to scroll up, easy to scroll down. You got a little rubber piece on the scroll wheel, and Mouse 3 very spammable. So for me, again, the switches, the implementation, the build quality, everything feeling really good on my NP-01. So if you're somebody who has never tried a Vaxee NP-01, of course, obviously the experience is different than the original. I think the thumb curve on the left side and the curvature on the right side, it's going to feel kind of like an ergo hybrid. When you compare it to symmetrical mice, obviously comparing it to the X2 V2, which is a full-blown symmetrical mouse, more narrow than the NP-01, you're going to feel a very distinctive ergonomic flair moving over to the NP-01. It's going to feel like your thumb is just kind of curved on there and locked in, and it feels great, even though, again, it is a little bit less distinguished compared to the original. I do think it's going to be safer for a lot of people. And then on that right side of the mouse, you do just feel like this beautiful curvature there to kind of lock in your ring finger and pinky finger compared to your typical symmetrical mouse. So really separate and apart from the left side, the curvature on the right side, it does just feel from the butt of the mouse to Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, it kind of feels typical of a symmetrical mouse. So it's just a very interesting hybrid that I don't think we get anywhere else on the market. Compared to the G Pro Superglide, I think the grip width feels a little bit wider thanks to that curvature, and just a very distinctive mouse. Again, you guys can see it there next to the G Pro Superglide, but just a very unique mouse that feels fantastic and unlike anything else on the market, even though it was a little bit more tamed down on this version of the NP-01. Compared to the S Prime, I think the S Prime really tries to do what the NP-01 knocks out of the park. The S Prime kind of just feeling like a blob in the hand because the curvature on the left side of the mouse and the right side of the mouse just don't hit the mark compared to the NP-01. The S Prime is a great feeling mouse. This production copy feeling really good, no performance issues at all. The weight feels great. But in comparison, you just don't get a real thumb curve on the PM1 compared to the NP-01. If you want to kind of compare it to just a full-blown ergonomic mouse that is kind of on the same size spectrum, the size 1 of the X-Lite V3 feels really, really good. But keep in mind, again, you're kind of just getting like more of a hybrid feel with the NP-01, two very unique mice compared to its bigger brother, the Outset. Again, if you want a full-blown ergo, I would still go for the Outset, but if you want kind of like a hybrid feel, the NP-01 is just a very unique shape that I think Vaxee just hits out of the park again. In closing, what I really like about the NP-01 is still its very unique shape. I love things that have a unique flair to them, especially when they work performance-wise. This is something that I perform very well on, but I also perform very well on the Outset. And for me, I think the Outset would just be a little bit more of a comfortable fit just because, like I said in my Outset video, the Outset just feels like it was made for my hand. I do kind of wish that they maintained the kind of more flared thumb curve like on the original NP-01, but I do think that the changes are going to work for a whole heckload of a lot more people, especially those with smaller hands. So it's a very interesting mouse. It's, again, what I kind of view as like a hybrid. It's not a full-blown ergo, but it's not a symmetrical mouse. It just feels very cool, very unique, and very good. If you're okay with 71 grams and you're looking for a medium to large mouse, the NP-01, I think, is a solid addition to the market, and Vaxee has done very well with the 4K implementation. It feels great. So guys, that is it for this one. I hope it helped. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel. See you guys in the next review. Peace.